I'm constantly picking up my phone when I should be picking up a book, but that all changes today. Hi, I'm Alex, this is Books and Paperbacks, and this week I'm going to be switching my phone pickups with pages. I saw Meg with Books do this video, so I'll link her video down below, but I don't know who originally created this. Honestly, it might have been one of those mainstream booktubers. I've done trends like this in the past where I swap my screen time for reading time, so I'll link some of those down below as well. I'm hoping to read 2 books in this vlog. The 2 books I picked are things that I've been wanting to get to and I just haven't, and I thought that this would be the perfect time. I want to start with Several People Are Typing by Calvin Kosuke, and if I have time, The Prospects by K.T. Hoffman. That's my reading plans for the week. Let's get started. I'm going to check what yesterday's pickups were, and that's how I will go about this. Honestly, I was on my devices so much yesterday that I'm kind of scared what it's going to be. Oh, okay. Yesterday, I picked up my phone a total of 114 times. That might be a lot, but for reading purposes, I think that's pretty doable. So I'm gonna get reading and I'll come back when I have an update. This is the perfect book for this challenge. I just hit my pages for the day. I'm enjoying this so far. I honestly probably could read it all in one day, but I like that I'm getting some time away from it. Basically, this is formatted in a Slack chat, and we're following Gerald, a man who works at a public relations firm, and he is stuck inside Slack. We're not sure how, but this is so fascinating. I'm really enjoying it. I won't say it's like my favorite thing ever, but it is a nice, short and sweet book, but I'm curious to see what the end result is going to be. However, I don't think this is for everybody, especially if you want to escape and you don't want to read about work, especially if you work from home or work in an office like setting. This is a public relations firm and I actually work in PR, so there's some points that I'm like, oh my god, this is hitting a little bit too close to home and I don't really want to think about my job while I'm reading. But so far, so good. Since I finished my pages for the day, I'll see you tomorrow. Hi, it's Monday. I'm about to get my day started, but I have to figure out how many pages I'm gonna read today. So yesterday I picked up my phone 125 times, which is actually more than the day before, but this complicates things because this book is 249 pages and reading 125 pages today will get me to page 239 and I will have 7 pages remaining, which is such a bummer. I just want to finish this book, but I guess this just shows that I don't pick up my phone as much. From the past videos that I've seen doing this challenge, a lot of people pick up their phones like 300 times a day, and I think this just proves that I'm not on my phone as much. I use my computer way more than I use my phone, but those are the cards I'm dealt today. So when I have some time, I will sit down and read more of Several People Are Typing. But I'm actually at my computer because I'm about to announce my secret project that I've been hinting at for my patrons. They are getting this early and then you will get it this Saturday. I'm hosting a readathon for my booktube birthday. It's through Patreon, but you can become a free member and still have access. I'm trying not to put it behind a paywall, but if you're interested, I'll link the announcement video down below. I'm gonna get my day started and I'll see you later. Just got my pages finished for the day. I have 7 pages remaining in this book. That was a wild ride. This whole book is about having an existential crisis. Our main character, Gerald, is having a disassociation where the Slack bot takes over his body and he is in Slack. It's so interesting, especially that it's a trans author. I'm getting so much subtle transness from this book. When discussing transness, I love the metaphor of body. In the trans community, there's a lot of discussion about our bodies having a beautiful body and having dysphoria. So I'm definitely getting that in this book, and I'm really interested to see what happens. Knowing my pages for the day were going to leave me with 7 pages remaining in the book, I was worried that I was going to leave off on a cliffhanger, but I actually ended on a resolution. So I don't feel eager to just keep reading. I'm actually excited to have a break and then get to finish it up tomorrow. Would I like to just finish it right now? Yes, but I do like having the buffered time. And with that being said, I'll see you tomorrow. Hi, it's Tuesday morning and I want to know what my pages are for the day so I can get reading. I picked up my phone 124 times, which is 1 less than the day before. I think that this is pretty doable. I have some things I have to do this afternoon, but besides that, I'm pretty free. However, this morning, I want to get some content stuff done. So that means I will officially finish Several People Are Typing, and then I can move on to the prospects. I'm going to start my day, finish Several People Are Typing, and I'll see you soon. Hi, it's Wednesday. I finished up Several People Are Typing and I started the prospects. More on that later, but it's time for me to review Several People Are Typing. This was such a weird book that I don't even know my proper thoughts. I don't really have too much to say about it. I did enjoy it. It was a fun read, but I don't think it was like my favorite thing, which is unfortunate because I was excited about it, but that doesn't mean that I hated it or disliked it. I just thought it was fine. It's just so weird that it's kind of hard to pinpoint what my thoughts are because it doesn't end in a traditional way, but I liked the commentary about existential crises. Like I've said before, this talks all about body, and I thought it was really interesting. I would like to see another book like this because I really like this type of style, but I don't really have a lot of thoughts on it. It was fine. I like what it did, but it was weird. Now I'm 119 pages into the prospects. Yesterday was one of the hardest days in this challenge so far. I had to read 117 pages of this book, but it starts on page 3, so I added 2 extra. But I was out for most of the afternoon and into the evening that I didn't get home until around maybe 5:30, and then I ate dinner and I watched some hockey, and that's really what did me in. But I did successfully finish my pages for yesterday at 1 a.m. So technically this morning. I don't want to have another night like that because I was getting tired. I was drinking some soda just to get myself awake, and I don't want to have another night like that. One thing about me that you don't know is I don't like to finish books at night because I feel like I'm not going to remember in the morning what my initial thoughts were. I want to be coherent when I'm finishing or just reading a book. However, that didn't happen last night. I do know what I read, but I don't want that to happen again. However, I'm going to get a haircut today around 5, so I would like to get a head start on my pages, maybe in the afternoon. But like I said, I read 119 pages of the prospects and I'm really enjoying it. This has so much disability and neurodivergent rep. This is an adult romance following Gene, who is the first trans baseball player. He plays in the minor leagues in Portland, and there's this guy who is a shortstop like him who he despises named Luis. They were teammates in college and something happened making Gene not so fond of Luis. Luis was injured in a car accident, making him have to take a year off of baseball, and he hasn't been the same since. I've mentioned this before, but I love when sports books talk about injuries and ableism in the sport. I advocate for that so much because as a hockey fan, the ableism is wild. Fans can be so delusional and ableist, and it really pisses me off. The amount of people that call players busts because they literally have like long COVID, chronic migraines because of repeated concussions drives me up a wall. So I appreciate that we have this representation here. And Luis does have anxiety, and I love that representation. It's so important to talk about mental health when we talk about sports. Like I said, there's so much disability rep here. Jean has ADHD, Luis has anxiety, and he has an emotional support dog, a husky named Dodger, who helps him when he has panic or anxiety attacks. And I love that representation because it's so important to show anxiety in men, and especially in sports. So I really appreciate that. And the veteran pitcher Vince, his husband Jack, is deaf and uses ASL. And Jean is learning sign. He does sign back to Jack at some points, but he says that he's just been learning for over a year. I just love how filled with disability rep this is. And like I said, I love when sports books talk about injuries because it's a very important side of sports. So Jean is straight up not having a good time because he hates Luis and he is forced to do so many things with him. At first, he has to give him a tour of the stadium, and then they're on the road, and he has to room with him. Now that I'm about 30% of the way through the book, I'm really enjoying it, and I can't wait to see more of Luis and Jean's chemistry grow. They are tolerating each other, but Luis is just so sweet. I am really enjoying him. I think it's just because I'm a fellow anxious boy and I love that representation, but he's also a great character. I relate to him in so many ways, but I just love how he's very just chill and reserved, and he does some sweet gestures, and Jean is just like,
"What do you mean this guy did this for me?"
I love a great enemies to lovers or rivals to lovers, so I love the banter, and I love when one character hates the other, but the other character literally doesn't care. That is everything to me, and we are getting that here. And this just has me thinking, Katie Hoffman needs to write me a hockey book in this same exact style. I need a trans hockey player in this sort of setting, please. So I'm going to keep reading today, but I need to let you know what my pages are for the day. Yesterday, I picked up my phone 118 times, so that is going to land me on page 237. My strategy for today is to read this in chunks. Hopefully I can read half in the afternoon and then finish it out this evening. I'll see you then. Hi, it's Thursday and I didn't finish my pages yesterday. I was playing catch up this morning, but this is what happened. I read at least 174 pages before I went to get my hair cut and things. Then I came home around 6, and that's what really did me in. I started watching some hockey because it was the Canucks' last game of the season. I've been watching the Canucks this year because of their defenseman Quinn Hughes, who I was introduced to during last year's playoffs. But I wanted to watch their last game because Quinn was about to possibly break a record for the franchise, and I thought that would be cool. It didn't happen, but I ended up going to bed before the game was even over because I was exhausted and I felt myself skimming the book, and I don't want to do that. I just felt really groggy, and I'm not going to force myself to read if I'm physically too tired. I'm gonna have to figure out a strategy. I actually ended up picking up my phone a lot yesterday, so I'm curious to see what the result is going to be. This brings me to 237 pages of the prospects, and I only have 105 pages to go, so I'm definitely going to finish it today. So I need a backup, and I just think I'm going to continue the theme of reading some trans and specifically trans mask books. So I'm going to read A Gentleman's Gentleman. I'm not sure what's going to happen. This challenge is going to end on Saturday for me, so I'll probably read this on sprints tomorrow, but I also need to do some editing because I'm in my flyers Mariners jersey because I'm about to film my hockey video, which you will see on Tuesday. This is 318 pages, so we'll see what I can get into during this vlog. But again, I don't know if I'm going to finish it in this vlog, but we'll see what happens. As for any updates about the prospects, I'm loving this. I'm obsessed, and honestly, I thought that I would like Gene more, like I thought I would connect to him and maybe he would be my favorite character, but I like Luis more. I just feel like I relate to him a little bit more. I love the anxiety rep. It's so refreshing to see a guy, especially a sports player, have anxiety and like not be ridiculed for it or anything. It's so funny because I really thought I would like Gene more, but Luis, he's so cool. He's sweet and funny and I am just obsessed with him. I love this so much, so I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Coming from somebody who religiously watches hockey, I think this is so interesting because it talks about the minors. I do watch baseball. I've been watching it more so over the last couple years because the Phillies have at least gotten good, but it's still not my favorite sport. When I watch it, I still get the bored factor. It could just be the Phillies or it could be me, because every time I watch it, I just think hockey's better. I think the rules make a little bit more sense and I just love that sport more. I like to watch baseball, but only when fun things are happening. But I guess you could say that for any sport. I'm having a really good time with this. But we need to know what my pages were for the day. I picked up my phone 129 times yesterday. That's the highest so far of this challenge. I have 105 more pages of the prospects, which will lead me with 24 more pages, and I will start A Gentleman's Gentleman. I need to put my post-it in here, but I'm gonna get reading and I will see you once I have finished the prospects. Hi, it's Friday. Last night I finished the prospects. I'll talk about that in a second. I did not complete all of my pages yesterday. I thought I did pretty well, but I did have 129 pages to read, and I'm somebody that doesn't even read 100 pages a day. So that was very challenging yesterday. I spent the majority of the day reading, but I did have some things that I had to get done, filming a video and doing some other things. I think it was around like 10 that I sat back down to finish reading this, and I didn't finish it till like 11:30 p.m., which is totally fine. But then I had my 24 pages of A Gentleman's Gentleman to finish, and I didn't. So that's what I'm gonna do this morning because it's almost 9. And every Friday I host reading sprints here on my channel. So starting at 10:30, I'll be doing that and it'll give me a chance to read. But I'm here to see what our pages are for the day. We only have one day left remaining in this challenge, and I'm very curious to see how everything's going to pan out. Wow, we've gotten our lowest amount yet. Yesterday I picked up my phone 89 times, didn't even hit 100, and that's how you know I was reading. But I also was filming a lot because I was filming that video. So that brings me to 113 pages of A Gentleman's Gentleman, but because I didn't finish my 24 pages from yesterday, it'll be 137 pages, which I'm sure I can do while I'm on sprints. I'm enjoying this so far. It's fun because it's historical, but I'll talk about this later. It's time to talk about the prospects because I loved this. I'm a little mad at myself that I never picked it up when everybody was raving about it, but that's just who I am. I'm so glad I finally got around to it. I ate this up. Like, I am obsessed with this. This is my new favorite book. This is going to be the kind of book where I just am constantly thinking about the characters. Like, I didn't want this book to end. When I got to the last page, I was like, oh, but I want more. So Katie Hoffman, I'm gonna need more. of these characters, this world, everything, please. And again, it's just making me want a hockey book exactly like this. I don't want to spoil too much, but I liked the character development. Gene grows so much. At the beginning of the book, obviously, he doesn't want to be near Louise. He doesn't want to have to deal with some things that happened in the past. But once he joins the team, he doesn't have a choice, and it's for the best. It makes them both better baseball players and makes Gene consider that Luis is not a terrible person. He's actually a wonderful, just sweet, sensitive guy, and I love him so much. Especially his dog. The dog was so cute. Gene is the first trans man to play professional baseball, and I loved how late this was. The author's note at the beginning does touch on this, saying it's an optimistic one in which the characters search and cling to hope in all its many forms. There are accordingly brief instances of verbal and systemic transphobia and homophobia, as well as references to misogyny trans men often continue to face after we come out. And that's where it ends. And I loved that because there were some times I was on edge and I was like, uh-oh, he's in this situation, what's going to happen? And really nothing happened, and that made me so happy, especially as somebody who wants to write stories like this. It was interesting to see how it can be done. But the author does acknowledge at the end that this is not realistic at all. We still need so much help in these regards. Specifically Gene, he has to have his T levels checked before every game, which is a reality for many trans men. And if you follow anything about the trans community and trans news, trans women and girls are being targeted in sports left and right. So it's not safe for us. However, I do love Boston Pride Hockey. I mention them a lot because they are an organization that has trans people play hockey, and it's awesome. I'll link them down below. But there are resources for us, so I'm hoping that this could be a reality someday. But as toxic as sports are, unfortunately, it's very slim. But it's nice to hope, and that is a message in this book. Hope versus want. And I just really like seeing Gene be able to grow and learn from a lot of the things he feels, and Luis helps him along the way. Luis is just so perfect. He's a cinnamon roll, and for book boyfriend status, he hits it. I just really enjoyed this. I'm so happy that I read it, and that is all on the prospects. I'm gonna get ready for sprints, read a little bit of A Gentleman's Gentleman, and I will be back when I have some updates. Hi, I just got off sprints. I read to page 34 of A Gentleman's Gentleman, and I made the executive decision to get the audiobook. I had a credit on Libro FM, so I bought it through there, and I think this is going to help me so much because this is historical fiction. It's set in 1819, and the language is of 1800s England. And so it's a little bit hard for me to get into, and I would prefer to hear the characters' voices. So for this challenge, I'm going to hybrid read, meaning I'll listen to the audiobook in tandem with the physical book. Because for this challenge, I need specific page counts. I'm gonna do that because it just would make things easier. I don't want to commit to just the audiobook. Obviously, audiobooks are reading, and I'm a big advocate for that. In this challenge, it's going to be a little bit hard because you don't get pages with the audiobook. You get percentages. So I figured I would just update you on that. I am enjoying it so far. It's really funny. It's very grumpy sunshine, and honestly, it's very relatable because our main character, Christopher Eden, he has a valet. His name is James Harding. This is a T for T romance. I don't know where that comes into play because we haven't talked about transness yet. Honestly, Christopher is just so relatable, and I'm interested to see how the chemistry between him and James continues. This might be very niche, but I just keep thinking of the movie Maurice when I'm reading this, because the plot of this book is Christopher has to have a wife to inherit his family's fortune. And he's gay, and he's like, I don't want to marry a woman, no thank you. So that's not how that movie is, but it is two gay men who are secretive. I don't think that's gonna happen here, but I guess the only like queer historical thing that I can think of is that movie. Maybe it has no relevance to this book, but that's just what I keep thinking of. But anyway, I'm going to pop on the audiobook and I will come back once I have finished my pages for the day. I can't wait for this challenge to finally be over. It's Saturday, the last day of this challenge, and yesterday I got my reading done before the end of the day. Yay me. I finally had some time to properly read this, and of course I didn't have a huge page count as I did the prior days. This is a trans Regency romance. I've never read a Regency romance before, so it's taking me a little while to get into the book and trying to figure out if I like this or not, because I'm a little hesitant. I'm not a big fan of like royalty and things like that, so I don't know how big of a fan I'm gonna be of this, but the trans rep is great and I'm really enjoying Christopher's character, especially because it talks about him binding and using bandages, which is not a great way to bind, but that's how trans people were binding in the 1800s. And I love this because it's showing that trans people existed all the time. It does not matter what decade it was, we have always been here, and I think that is so important to recognize now and always, so I'm enjoying that representation here. I have some things I have to do today, so I want to find out how many pages I have to read, and I'll put on the audiobook because I'm going to be running some errands, and then I will come back to properly update you. I don't think I'm going to finish it today, but we'll see what happens. 99 times I picked up my phone, which equals to 211 pages, so I won't be finishing it, but honestly maybe I'll finish it tomorrow or one of the days next week. That's the final time I have to decide how many pages I'm going to read. I will reflect at the end, but I'm gonna go run some errands, pop on the audiobook, and I'll see you in a bit. Last night I finished my pages for the day, leaving me at page 212 of A Gentleman's Gentleman. I'm still enjoying it. I am liking the audiobook. I'm still not a huge Regency fan, but I like how the transness is being approached and I'm interested to see what happens more in the plot. So I'm gonna finish this over the next couple of days, and that concludes this challenge. I am going to wrap up everything I read and talk about how I feel. So let's start with that. How did this challenge go for me, and would I do it again? Yes, but I'm glad to have the break. I don't think I should have done a week. That was way too much for me. I think if I were to do it again, I would do 5 days because the 7 days was rough. There were just times when I didn't want to read, and then you saw I was catching up at midnight, and that's just not what I want to do to myself as a reader. But I do like the concept of me having a certain amount of pages to read a day. It's funny because in school, I hated required reading. I hated being told how many pages I needed to read, which chapter I had to read to. I just don't read like that. But this challenge really helped me to stay on track and keep up my streak of reading. If you didn't know, on Storygraph they have a streak feature where you can log how many pages you read a day and it'll keep a streak going. And so my streak did say 7 days, which was fun. But I don't know if this works for me, only because I am such a mood reader in the sense that I will read when I'm in the mood for it. But as I create content, this was helpful for me. So I think there are some tips that I can take away from it. And I know that I can read so many pages in a day, but of course it depends on the genre and style of writing and how much I'm invested into the book. So I enjoyed this challenge, but it definitely was rough at some points, especially, as I said, I felt myself catching up, and I don't want to do that, but it's hard to structure my day around reading when I have other things going on. And I just come back to something I always say. I feel like I prioritize sports as my interest over reading, where many people reading is their only interest, which is wonderful, but I care more about sports than I really care about reading, and sports will always take over for me. Obviously, that's probably something I need to figure out as I'm continuing to make content, because sometimes with reading vlogs, I have that same mentality where I want to watch a hockey or baseball game over reading a book for a video. Speaking of reading, here's everything I read in this vlog. Several people are typing by Calvin Kosuke. I enjoyed it. It was weird. Not my favorite thing, but I would recommend it. The Prospects by Katie Hoffman, my favorite book from this video. I have not stopped thinking about this book and the characters. I need more. And I'm 212 pages into A Gentleman's Gentleman, and like I said, I'm hoping to finish it up in the next couple days. And that's the end of this vlog. Thank you so much for watching and clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give it a like and leave a comment. Let me know what your phone says. What was your last number of pickups? I would love to know. And if you don't feel like leaving a lengthy comment, you can just leave a phone emoji, since this was all about my phone. If you like these videos, I've done some similar versions of this before, so I'll link some down below. If you'd like to support me further, I have a Patreon. Thank you so much to my top patrons for their continuous support. Over there, I share exclusive content, and I recently announced that I'm doing a readathon, so I'll have that video linked down below as well, and my Patreon link is always down there. If you like these videos and you want to watch more, I will link my video where I had a number generator decide how many hours I read a day, and you can subscribe there. Bye.